7 no son 9. Tírate, Capicu lo que viene.
Mi gente, welcome to the first Capicu Live broadcast that serves as the official National Puerto Rican Day Parade event showcase and scholarship fundraiser. I am your host, Juan Papo Santiago, and tonight's event is produced by George Gitana Torres at Sofrito Media Group. We are a cultural institution that has been giving a voice to people of color for over 13 years in New York City and 7 years with the Puerto Rican Parade. Thank you for joining in.
My name is George Torres, and I love Latino culture. I hated the fact that our history wasn't documented in the books, so I created Sofrito for Your Soul and co-founded Capicu Culture. Every year, the Capicu Culture Sofrito for Your Soul float is dedicated to a different environmental disaster. Maria actually changed the game. So today we're here with Why Not Cares and NYDIS to actually honor them for the work that they're doing for displaced families in Puerto Rico. We brought a whole coalition of community builders with us to make a statement this year. Nosotros estamos aquí.
The reality is that there's still a lot of struggle, and there's still a lot of people suffering because they don't have water, they don't have food, or they have very little every 2 or 3 days. I mean, you know, we need to be humane and unite and create conscience so that we can help our people. These are human beings. These are American citizens. This is not just anybody. It's not trash. My country, Puerto Rico, has done a lot for the United States, and I think we deserve a little bit of respect.
My name is Juan Papo Santiago. I'm the co-founder of Capicu Culture and also La Sopa NYC, the School of Poetic Arts. We just finished the 61st annual Puerto Rican Day Parade, our participation in the parade. We always bring a protest element or an element of critical thinking to the parade, and the idea is how the arts, how we as artists can actually support people that are community organizers. And so we have partnered together with many different organizations that are actually doing work on the island and asking them how we can participate and how our messages can get across to our community about the work that's happening in New York City, about what's happening in La Isla.
There's so many organizations out there that are doing amazing things, tent ministries. So what we did was we just called everybody like, hey, what are you guys doing? How can we help? What are you doing? How can we help? And those organizations called other organizations, and we all formed up together. Because one person could get up to the mountain, but if we have a whole group going together, we get a lot more done. Instead of 1 gallon, we could get 50 gallons. You know, instead of 1 sandwich, we get 100 sandwiches.
We put 2 programs in place. One was to help evacuee families that are arriving here, which we've been doing in partnership with a group of organizations. As families arrive, interviewing them, finding out what their unmet needs are, helping them secure housing, jobs, when possible, with financial assistance.
In the house, the water went through. It was like 3 or 4 inches of water in the house. We didn't sleep for 48 hours because it was something that I thought it wasn't gonna stop. There was like no end for us.
When you want to drink water, it's something as easy, you know, as simple as drinking water, and there's no water available to drink. I used to go out and find no water to buy at the supermarket, nowhere. So we decided to take water from one of the municipalities' trucks, and my daughter and I got sick.
4,645 people died. They said it was a couple, you know, make it seem like it's nothing. Right now, they're drinking contaminated water. A lot of people aren't surviving. You know, I think this piece right here is going to represent what a lot of cultures go through. And I mean, we want them to know that we're here. We want to make a difference. We want the children to make a difference. We want everybody to get on board. You know, unity is a strong thing.
We are here every year at the Puerto Rican Day Parade highlighting the will of the people, the marginalized struggle, and we put words and artistic expression to that. So this year what we're doing with the Puerto Rican Long-Term Recovery Group, marching with our contingent, is that we are speaking out for the 4,645 people that lost their lives.
I think the biggest thing is, a lot of, money has been going to the island, which needs it as well. But a lot of people are just forgetting the fact that evacuees are here. There's 17,000 that have come to New York State alone, and they're not getting the assistance that we need. So we need to keep the conversation going. We need social media, repost, talk about it, donate to grassroots organizations that are actually doing the work and not these organizations that we know that don't take the money and use it. Go to, on the basic level, people on the ground who are doing the work, and it's those people who are not being acknowledged, who are doing more work than these bigger agencies that claim to do work and they're not doing the work.
La tierra de Borinquen, donde he nacido yo, es un jardín florido de mágico primor, un cielo siempre nítido le sirve de dosel y dan arrullo plácido las olas a sus pies cuando a sus playas llegó Colón. Despierta, borinqueños, que han dado la señal. Despierta de ese sueño, que es hora de luchar. Alza el llamar patriótico, no arde tu corazón. Ven, no será simpático al ruido del cañón. Nosotros queremos la libertad. Nuestro machete nos la dará. Vámonos, borinqueño, vámonos ya, que nos espera ansiosa la libertad, la libertad, la libertad, la libertad, la libertad.
Cómo duele, 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 cómo duele. Mataron a George como filando, como llama, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele. En Minneapolis la policía mataron otro negro. Cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele. Mataron a George como filando, como llama, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele. La policía en Minnesota mataron otro negro. Cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele. La policía en Minneapolis mataron otro negro. Cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele, cómo duele.
Qué bonita bandera. Hello everyone, this is your sister, Rebecca Gitana Torres. You know I gotta rule the Mars. And many of you may know me, not just from my work in the world, you should check that out, but also from being live at the parade for many, many years. I love the Puerto Rican Day Parade because it is a beautiful devotional expression of who we are. And even though we're not at the parade this year or at one of our festivals or celebrations, this is still a powerful time for us to reflect on who we are as a people and where we want to go. So today, we're going to be presente in spirit. But first, here's a look at the past. If there was ever a year that it was okay to skip a Puerto Rican Day Parade, I think this year would probably be it. And I say that because last summer, those unprecedented protests that went on for 15 days, both on the islands and in New York and other cities as well. It was incredible how we marched with our flags, with our art, with our dance, with our vibrant spirit. We paraded for 15 days. It was epic.
Black Lives Matter!
This year, mi gente, I have a really special treat for us because we're not just going to imagine the island from 5th Avenue, we're actually gonna go there. And since we're there, let's have a little meditation. Welcome to your 1-minute Boricua meditation. Feast your eyes on the island, taking beautiful breaths in through your nose and out of your mouth. Soaking in the colors and the sounds. Deepening your breath, filling up on our island's medicine. Taking a final deep breath in and let it go. Didn't that feel so good? One of our greatest treasures as a people are our elders. Their knowledge runs so deep, from plant medicine to understanding the cycles to being a witness to powerful historical moments. I urge all of us to tap into our elders today.
No puede ser que hasta aquí me hayan traído y yo tan bobo no me he dado cuenta antes de que no era como yo había soñado. La vida es una ilusión.
Wow, so you was here with Martin Luther King.
I was there. Y yo me reuní con los Black Panthers to do work together.
And what happened when I told Maria that her family wanted her to come back to New York?
You tell her that your mother cannot abandon her house at this point because I am a warrior and I'm not about to leave my life, my home, because I'm afraid. I'm not afraid. And especially today, you guys came to see me and I felt so blessed and so wonderful. Y como pueden ver, hay derrumbes donde quiera, pero no, el corazón mío no se ha derrumbado.
Speaking of the great wonders of Borinquen, let's travel to some of our natural wonders. La Cueva del Indio is located in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. And I'm going to take you down into the cave to see some of the petroglyphs created by our Taino ancestors. Our cave systems are incredible, and you can just feel the energy of the womb of our islands. I really urge you to visit a cueva on your next trip back home. Another incredible wonder is something that I can guarantee you have never seen before or probably never even heard of before. That looks like a face.
Uh-huh. Yes. Big nose.
Look at that. Oh my God. How incredible is that? Right? The great wonders of our island. I also want to highlight that many of our sacred sites are being torn up for new construction. Our ancestral remains discarded, and our relics being sold and spread across the globe. We don't really have the time to go all the way into that here, pero ya tú sabe. Borinquen! I just want to send all of you the awareness that you are needed in this movement. I want to send all of you the awareness that you have a birthright to the island. Stay powerful, keep rising, and I'll see you next time.
TITA.
And now, a Puerto Rican history moment with TITA. Now, a lot of people probably know that the national animal of Puerto Rico is the little green frog known as el coqui. But what you don't probably know is what coqui means actually, right? Because at nighttime, when you like trying to sleep or whatever, and the coquis are like, coqui, coqui, and they be driving you crazy, or sometimes it's just so beautiful that you fall asleep to it. It's actually the male frogs that are saying something, all right? Did you know that they're actually saying something? Fíjate. Co in coqui actually means one male frog telling the other male frogs, mira, don't even try it, all right? Because I'm trying to find a lady, so you need to fall back, all right? And then the key part, when the coquis be like, coqui, the key part is actually the little frogs telling the ladies, mira, nena, ¿cómo está? Wanna party, all right? So yeah, so that's the true history of how they got their name, all right? Just in case you was wondering that it's not just like a name that somebody was like, oh, let's give them this name because it's cute. No, it actually means something. It's the language of the coquis, okay? Mira, I just want to give a quick shout out to my friends at Capicu. Thank you for having me here today. Also, big shout out to everybody participating at the National Puerto Rican Day Parade today. And to everybody watching, thank you for watching. Fíjate. And mira, if you're watching, I'm going to need you to do me a favor, right? We're going to need some donations. We're going to need your help so that you could give some money to the scholarship program that we're having right now, okay? All you have to do is text the word WEPA. That's WEPA, just in case you don't know how to write WEPA. And you're going to text WEPA to the number 41444. Again, that's 41444, okay? And if you want to continue watching my stuff, you can go to YouTube and just type in TITA, and I'm going to come up, all right? And I want you to subscribe to my channel.
Who's that special lady with a story to tell? It's TITA. TITA.
Yo, that's a hit.
Hi, this is Jessica with Dining Traveler, and welcome to my kitchen. Bienvenidos a mi cocina. Now we're all at home and we're cooking more, and I've taken this time to do some of the recipes that I've learned to make growing up, and also some of the ones that I've learned during my travels. And of course, I want to start with Puerto Rico. And one of my favorite things to eat when I go to my mom's house or when I go back to the island are alcapurrias. Alcapurrias are these delicious fried treats. We call them frituras. And they're made with a dough with a masa of jautilla, which is a root vegetable, and green banana, and filled with some type of meat. And for those of you who do not have a Puerto Rican supermarket or big Puerto Rican population, what I do recommend is going to Asian supermarkets. So I've been able to find these ingredients to include the banana leaves in Vietnamese or Korean supermarkets. So that's what I recommend. So we're gonna start with making the picadillo, which is the meat filling. There's different ways that you can fill your alcapurrias. Today we're gonna do ground pork, but you can do ground beef. You can do even corned beef, which is my mom's favorite and the favorite of a lot of Puerto Ricans. You can do stewed crab, which is my favorite, but in this economy, we're not gonna do that. And if you're vegan, you can even try a Beyond Meat type product and just put the traditional seasonings. So we're gonna start with around a pound of ground pork, a little tomato sauce, around 1/3 to half a cup of sofrito. I'm Puerto Rican, so I don't have exact measurements. A small onion and a little sazon, because we make everything with sazon in Puerto Rico. Just like to work in the sazon just because the achiote, the annatto seed, is so strong. Just like lay it out here for a bit. And I would just say it usually takes like a nice 10 minutes to cook, depending on your range. We have a gas range, which I love. And I like to add the tomato sauce and the sofrito when it's just a bit more cooked and it releases a little bit of the fat and just makes it adhere just a little bit better. I'm gonna add the sofrito. You see now it's loosened up a little bit. So the sofrito, this one my mom made for me because I'm spoiled like that, but you can buy it at any supermarket. They have it like usually I prefer the frozen one in the Goya section. A lot of supermarkets, even a lot of mainstream supermarkets do offer the frozen sofrito in like the Hispanic food section. Like the Calle 13 song says, todas las boricuas cocinan con salsa de tomate. And this is probably like a good 2 tablespoons. But just make sure that you get the meat in the tiniest pieces possible because it has to fit in the masa. And if you have these big chunks of ground beef or ground corned beef, it just does not work as well. Some people love olives, some don't. For example, my mom is not a fan of them in the meat and the picadillo. I like to just add a little bit. I feel like it adds a little bit of flavor, but if you're not an olive person, don't feel obliged to add it to the meat. So while the picadillo cooks, we can start on our masa, on our dough. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna peel the yautía. The skin is pretty thick, so you wanna use a knife to remove that. And we're gonna peel the green bananas, which they can be a little bit tough. So my tip is to put them under hot water and go ahead and peel those. Then we're gonna use 2 tablespoons of achiote oil. That's also another ingredient you can find pretty easily in Hispanics and or Asian supermarkets. That's called anato. You can also, if they don't know, achiote is anato. And a packet of sazon just to give it a nice little flavor. And I always like to add a little dash of adobo as well. And a little bit of hot water. This is pretty hot. You can see the steam popping up, and then I just reduce the heat just a little bit. And you see it just starts coming off a little bit easier. So we're gonna add a little bit of sazon, just a packet, and then we will add the achiote oil for that nice color. Midway, you want to open up la masa, make sure that all the ingredients are mixing in well. And I also like to do this with my banana leaves, just put them in a little bit of heat. I wash them first, but I don't know, this gives me more peace of mind. Plus my aunts used to do this too, and it just sterilize them and also bring a little bit of flavor. I like to put a little oil on my banana leaf, and once it goes into the frying pan, you'll see why we use the banana leaf. Is a nice effect. So we put some masa. I also like to put a little bit of the hot oil on the top so it can start cooking comfortably. Loosen it up a little bit on the bottom, and there you go. Just make sure that the oil you're cooking with is very, very hot when you start. Hello.
Then you make the carne, the meat. You know, you get the meat and you could make it anything you want. Carne, you could say pork, regular ground beef, or even if you don't have anything else, corned beef.
Yeah, that's what I was saying in the video, that that corned beef is your favorite.
They're good. They're good.
And it's good if you're in a budget too.
And then for the, ¿cómo se llama? For the mezcla, how do you say mezcla?
The masa, I call it the dough. I mean, but it's not a dough, right?
Oh yeah,
the dough.
You put a little bit of seasoning, you know, like adobo, sazon, and that's about it.
Okay, mommy. Well, thank you. I tell everybody that you're my cooking hotline. So if I'm making Puerto Rican food, I call you like 10 times. Te quiero mucho. Tú lo escuchas, te quiero mucho. Mira, abuela dijo que yo también. Adiós. Bye. So this is how I make my alcapurrias. I hope you enjoyed the recipe. If you try it, please tell us about it in the comments. And now I am going to indulge, because the best way to eat an alcapurria is straight off the fryer.
Hola mi gente. Usually at this time of the year, Capicu would be celebrating at the Puerto Rican Day Parade. I always look forward to the celebration of my people that are a beautiful mosaic of humanity. This year, with COVID-19 decimating much of our community, we had no choice but to go this route. It sucks because at 64, my Puerto Rican Day Parade's a number. Missing this year from our celebration is our beloved Kim Andino, who spent a good portion of her life helping impoverished children abroad. I always say that time is an irreplaceable commodity. Behind me is a few of my Boricua-inspired paintings, and pay particular attention to the painting of Pedro Luis Ocampo, who is quoted as saying, "It's not that we're small, it's that we're on our knees." This year, after the murder of George Floyd, we are standing up. Happy Puerto Rican Day Parade, mi gente.
Tonight, I have the honor of speaking to author Willie Perdomo, who's received numerous honors such as the International Latino Book Award, a Pen Beyond Margins Award, and has numerous poetry collections and children's books, including The Crazy Bunch, The Essential Hits of Shorty Bon Bon, and he is now the co-editor of the new Latinx Breakbeats Poets Volume 4 anthology. Please stay tuned. Check, check, check. Microphone check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Are we live on Facebook?
We're live. We're live.
Oh my God. Listen, I've been in the comments. I'm watching. I've been doing the watch parties. I've been sharing. And this thing is beautiful. This production is beautiful. We had a little glitch. You know what? We're back. Welcome to the first Capicu Live broadcast that serves as the official National Puerto Rican Day Parade event showcase and scholarship fundraiser. I'm your host, Juan Papo Santiago, a.k.a. Papo Swiggity, and tonight's event is produced by George Urban Torres, who you just saw right there with the fly back a graffiti wall, well, almost graffiti wall. That's pre-graffiti. That's, you're about to hit that up in a little bit. I understand you. From Sofrito Media Group. Thank you for everybody for joining in the chat. I'm gonna jump down there in a little bit with you. The National Puerto Rican Day Parade Scholarship for 4 consecutive years has awarded $200,000 to 100 college-bound students of Boricua descent. Text WEPA to 41444 to donate. You heard Tita say it. I'm telling you now. Tío Papo's telling you. Text WEPA to 41444 to donate to the scholarship, or you can go to the National Puerto Rican Day Parade website and look for the scholarship link and do it that way as well. So tonight, along with incredible content from some of the best artists we know, we're also featuring poetry from Jani Rose, who you heard sing La Borinqueña, Nancy Ruffin, Mario Pagan, Nia Andino, Michelle Soto, Rebel Poet, even Urban Hebert is going to throw down. And we're going to have a special dedication to Kimberly Andino of Art Culture NYC, who was a powerful bridge between activists, artists, and poets. We lost her earlier this year. So our parade march will never be the same without you, Kim. But you taught us well, and you taught us to march on. All right, so tonight I have the honor of speaking to author Willie Perdomo, who's received numerous honors such as the International Latino Book Award, the Pen Beyond Margins Award. He has numerous poetry collections and children's books, including The Crazy Bunch, The Essential Hits of Shorty Bon Bon, co-editor of the new Latinx Breakbeat Poets Volume 4 anthology, and more, because there's always an and more, all right? So are we ready to dive into that? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, we ready to go? I don't see you guys on my screen, so I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But if we're ready to dive in, I don't see Willie on my screen. Wait 1 second. We're good. Okay. All right, cool. So Willie, we're just gonna get right into it. All right. Let me get into it. Let me get my little So I guess the first thing that I want our familia to understand is that we're in conversation with the author and Nuyorican extraordinaire Willie Perdomo. Our conversation tonight is going to focus on craft, on culture, and on community. These are the three things that the Capicu community is very passionate about. So Willie, thank you once again for chopping it up with us here. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Okay, so we're going to start here. We're going to start with some questions on culture. So I like to open with a quote by Piri Tomás. He said, "Every child was born a poet," right? So that speaks to our origin story. So our origin stories as writers begins with how we grew up, just that basic. So what was your relationship with Borinquen, with Puerto Rico as a child?
I used to go to Puerto Rico when I was a kid. First of all, before I start, though, I want to send a shout out to all the people who were out there today in East Harlem marching and protesting and in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. There's been some folks who said it right. You know what I'm saying? Like our tradition and our sense of struggle and resistance is definitely tied into the Black struggle as we know it right now. I think for me, my relationship to Borinquen was I used to go there as a little kid. It was somewhere where my mother was from. It was somewhere where my father was from. But I was born in New York City. I had a sense of that somehow there was a paradise out there that I really didn't know about. You know what I'm saying? And then I finally got there, and it was good to see where I originated. It was good to see how is it that I come to love music so much? Well, it so happens that the whole patrilineal line of my family are all musicians, right? And they all come from Ponce. And we all know that the best musicians come from Ponce anyway, right? So, but I mean, and for me, it was an idea, you know what I'm saying? But most of the symbols, most of the rituals, most of the music, most of the language have already come from Puerto Rico by the time I was born in the 60s. We were there already for a number of years. So all of it seemed to be present in my neighborhood, and it was just a default. And we were Puerto Ricanos and shit, So that was for me something that I could connect to. But what happens is when you're a Nuyorican child, and that's what Perry's talking about, where every child is born a poet, is that you start to develop a new language. And that new language is created out of survival, but it's also somewhat of an outlaw language, right? Because if you take what's happening now, it's like that dicho, right? El que hizo la ley hizo la trampa, right? So in many ways, what happens is if the law, and I think Garin talked about this in the Nuyorican book, if the law is there and it's not keeping you safe, then what good is the law? At that point, what happens as a young poet, as a young person, you start to create your own sense of language and vision. And in many ways, you kind of become an outlaw as a Nuyorican poet. But it wasn't until I reached my 30s that I actually went back to Puerto Rico. As you know, my wife is a Ponceña, and you know what I'm saying, like we would go often a couple times a year, and we have root there. And that's when I started to sort of claim my relationship with the island.
I love that, man. That idea that you just talk about the outlaw poetry, and that runs deep in our veins, right? We have a lot of that from the generations. I'm thinking way back to Jorge Brandon, right? You know, all the way to this era, we got the títeres that are out there running around, and we'll hear from a couple of them tonight. So I did want to ask, like, did you feel that your relationship shaped your writing early on, or did you need time to like unravel what it meant to discover, and then what it meant to be Nuyorican for you?
I think it takes time. You know, again, you mentioned Piri Tomas, and I was a kid who was coming from East Harlem. I was going to school downtown, and I remember reading Down These Mean Streets for the first time, and it really, really opened my world. But what happened at the same time was that I also bumped into Langston Hughes. I bumped into the Black arts tradition. So all these traditions started to kind of make my, they started to kind of come into my trajectory as a writer. They started to inform me as a writer. You know, what was unique about the Nuyorican tradition is that we had multiple languages at play at once. And that was important, I think, for us to kind of survive in the world, not just as poets, but in our everyday lives in New York City, to be specific about it, you know. And it's weird because in that moment, with those languages, we became kind of historians at the same time. We started to preserve the culture. We started to become witnesses. Like right now, you'll see poets that are going to be responding to the very moment that we're living in at this point, and in more languages than one. So I think it's, you know, that moment where I connected to poetry was through Piri Thomas's lens, because he was writing about El Barrio. So when I opened the book and I seen names like Juaneco and Carlito, and I seen landmarks, and I was like, oh shit, this is my block. He's talking about my block. You know what I'm saying? So when I read the book, I remember coming up out of the train, and the day after I read the book, and suddenly the block didn't look the same anymore. It was vibrant. You know what I'm saying? Like my senses were on fire. Victor Hernandez Cruz called them snaps, right? So everywhere you look, everything seemed to be lit.
Oh, that's dope. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm thinking about what you felt with Piri Tomas. For me, I felt with Miguel Agarin. I felt it with Love is Hard Work. He had a collection called Love is Hard Work that I read in the village, and it created what Capicu is today, philosophically, in my mind, right? As a community, we have a lot of ways of describing ourselves. We're talking about Puerto Rican, Nuyorican, Boricua, Afro-Boricua, Diaspora Rican, Latinx, and all the variations, etc., right? So in your opinion, how does a writer seeking community speak to what might bond us as community, or how might we account for the differences and perspectives of self across the people?
Well, you have to respect the differences, and you have to honor the nuances within our culture. What's cool about all those kind of categories that you just laid out was there's a thread that runs right through them. And that thread essentially is freedom, right? So basically what I got in was talking about as well, in terms of the freedom, that freedom really is not a theoretical proposition at this point. In our tradition, the action comes with the language, right? And so that's the way we respond to our multitudes. That's the way, because we, as you know, there's not one way of being Puerto Rican, right? There's not one way of being Boricua. There's not one way of being Black. There's no monolith to it. So that we have all these voices, and I can go down the line right now about all these young poets that are coming out right now who are speaking again to their time, but also speaking with those various lenses, and they kind of make us who we are. So, you know, similar to what the Caribbean is like, if you take little pieces of us at some point with a lot of patience, with a lot of love, you start to put all those pieces together, man, and you start to see beauty, you start to see truth, you know, in all its splendor, I think, you know, and I think that's what's beautiful about all those categories that I think, you know, laid out. We can be fragmented, we can be fractured, but the key is, again, is to take those pieces, man, and really, really put them together.
Thank you. I appreciate that. On craft now, I want to move to a little bit of your craft work because I'm intrigued by a lot of the ways that you write. Most of the collections of poetry that I've come across over the last decade or so, usually there's a singular voice that speaks to a multitude of issues. It's me about this, me about this, me about this. In your most recent works, we actually encounter multiple voices across the pages. I think of like the poetry cops. I see how you use that as a device, right? In the Crazy Bunch, and the unnamed poet that does a lot of attempts or takes, right, at the birth of Shorty Bonbon, right? So I found that super, like it really made the book sing for me, right? So who or what inspired that way of writing for you?
I think it's an organic way of writing. I think I come to kind of a discovery over the last 2 books. I start to discover that this is part of my process. And what that really means is, again, if we go back to the Nuyorican tradition, the troubadour was out there, right? And he's telling the story of the street to the street, right? So you already know who and where your audience is. So you already know how to tell the story, right? And it's as simple as one of my boys asking me, yo, when you're gonna write about the Crazy Bunch? And as soon as he asked that question, I know exactly how to write the book. I know who I'm writing the book to. I know what language I'm using because it's gonna come out naturally, I think. With the essential hits of Shorty Bonbon, with the example that you gave, it's really what we all do as writers. We try to write that one poem, and if we don't get it right the first time, we try to write it again. And if we don't get it right the second time, we try to write it again. And before you know it, you got like 7 different takes of the same poem because you keep trying to, not necessarily perfect the vision, but definitely get close to it, And I think it's important to understand that there's always someone asking us to tell the story. But in the case of the Crazy Bunch and some of my other books that have more than one voice, that means that the storytelling dynamic as we know it is a collective dynamic. It's a communal dynamic, right? So we're sitting on the stoop, we start a story, and then Gene from the 3rd floor chips in, and then Lola from the 2nd floor chips in, and then someone asks a question, and then you answer that question, and then the story starts to expand and expand. And if you grew up in East Harlem, you grew up anywhere in the city, in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, if you told a story on the stoop, by the time that story got to the corner, it wasn't the same story anymore. I love that about storytelling, right? The way it progresses, the way it grows, the way it expands. Sometimes it contracts with the silences, So I think I'm paying a lot more attention to it as I grow as a writer,
That's dope. I think about what you said. Oh man, with the Shorty Bonbon poem, right? I think of Leonard Cohen, right, who was also a poet who wrote Hallelujah. And he wrote so many stanzas of Hallelujah because what happens is in your head, you have this feeling you're trying to capture with your words, and you're just gonna keep writing it until it's near. It's never going to be perfect, but it's going to be near what you felt, what that wasn't here. But thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Another question I have so there's a big debate in the writing community about art for art's sake versus art for social change. Have you seen that ideological battle play out in your writing world, right? And what are your thoughts on that?
Those battles usually play out in any artistic world. And usually the people who are on the art for art's sake have the luxury to go art for art's sake, right? They can do that safely. But when you're on the front line, you really can't do that. Me telling you, yo, Swiggity, I love you, that's a political act in itself right away, right? So I can't divide what role my poetry will play in terms of the political landscape, in terms of our quest for freedom. I can't disassociate the work from that. But having said that, I know that there are moments where I don't want to be literal. There are moments where I need to be a little bit more figurative. There are moments where I want my language to really, really sing and rock. You know what I'm saying? Like to an ear that knows it, that when as soon as they hear it, they say, oh, this poet he's from uptown. I think he's from Lexington somewhere, because it's that nuance. It's that specific. But I think it's a luxury to be able to say that somehow you're going to write art for art's sake. I don't again, there's no reason for me to even make that divide, because us loving each other, especially as Boricua brothers, is a revolutionary act in of itself. So we have to be able and vulnerable enough to be in that position and understand that we are engaged in a piece of art, but also it's heavily, heavily political in its attempt to be free.
Thank you. Speaking of that, right, art for social change. Now we're going to go into a little bit of the community work. So as a response to the devastation and the tragic loss of life due to the Hurricane Maria, you had put together a multi-city series called #Poets for Puerto Rico, right? I think the hashtag is important. But what moments popped out for you during those live events? And were there lessons that you could pass on to young organizers that look to respond to crises like those organizing right now over the murder of George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, or the continued oppression of the LGBTQ community at the hands of this government and the government in Puerto Rico?
Yeah. So in this respect, like what happens after Big Floyd's murder was that basically the nation is now undergoing a reckoning, right? And that reckoning can't be denied. That reckoning, you can't look away from that reckoning in that moment. Leave it to the activists who are out there now. We look like we're in good hands. We're going to have to follow their lead anyway. You know, I think it was important in the case of Poets for Puerto Rico is how do we take what we know as artists, as activists, and put it to good use, right? So if I'm in New York and my uncle and my aunt just lost her house, and the community where she lives, they have no food right now. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to galvanize all the poets we know, again, community, right? And everyone's going to chip in a poem, and we're going to raise some money for it, and we're going to send this block of money to a community kitchen in Puerto Rico. Boom, done. And then we're going to send it to an artistic organization so writers and poets could eat as well. Boom, done. So we're going to, not only we're going to put it together, but we're going to spread the love at the same time. And I had some really, really good brain trust with me, with Denise Froman, Noel Quiñones, Raquel Salas Rivera chipped in, and Ana Pono Brima chipped in. So there was a brain trust there that was kind of solid while the Poets for Puerto Rico movement was going on. And the mission was kind of, was strong. It was earnest as well. And I think we did some good work over the course of, I think, a year or something like that. We raised about 20-25 grand, right? And these were in different cities all over the country, and the people who were responsible for running it in those respective cities, they did a great job. I mean, look, man, as Nuyorican poets, as writers in this country, as we come right now from an island who has suffered Hurricane Maria, Jones Act, earthquakes, now COVID. I mean, it's been one thing after another, right? So as a writer, how are you going to catch up to your witnessing at that point, right? That's going to be something that's interesting as well. But I think, you know, whenever there's a fire, I think we're good about coming together and trying to put it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And now I want to remind everybody, this is live, man. So I'm looking at your comments. Mario J. Pagan co-signed your thing about Ponce, all right?
With singers, right?
He co-signed that. So I'll tell you that. Priscilla Hernandez said that Hallelujah was possibly her favorite song, but she liked the Katie Lang version. So I need to Google that and see what that's about. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I mean, I love that we're doing this piece live. It's really, you know, significant, and I'm loving the effect in the room. Because it's about community. For me, I do this for community, man. I don't know. I started poetry for myself, but this is for all of you guys. You really are inspired by so many voices that echo through the anthologies, right? We have personally talked over the years about the Nuyorican Poetry Anthology in 1975, which I still have, you know, and something that I treasure. I thank you for that. The Aloud Anthology in 1994, which you are in page 111 and 113. So y'all check it out if you got that book. You know, we know what's up in there. Okay. And this very year, you co-edited the Latinx Breakbeats Poets Volume 4. Can you talk to us about what is special about gathering writers, and how was the experience of editing an anthology?
Yeah, I think it's very much within the hip hop tradition of being in a cipher, right? And then you're coming in with all these different voices to the table. And some of them like to experiment. Some of them are spoken word. Some of them are figurative poets and formalistic poets. Some of them have insisted you not only publish the poems in English, but you publish them in Spanish as well, right? That's strong. That's a powerful move right there inside of a book, I think. And I think, you know, when me, Jose Olivares, and Felicia Rose Chavez, you know, we got together, we knew that we wanted to be intentional about, one, the multi-generational aspect of the book, two, the regional diversity of the book as well, and three, the stylistic and aesthetics that kind of went into it. But we also knew that there was a poetics of resistance that was going to be at play. And that was also, I think, part of putting the book together. I took my influences from the Nuyorican book, the Allow book, the Black Fire, the Amiri Baraka book that he did with Larry Neal, Juan Flores's book on the Afro-Latino reader. I mean, there were so many books that I could point to that were really inspirational that way, and really go the distance in terms of a level of canon formation, right? Any canon that you form in that moment always runs the danger of being exclusive. So the goal is for the next person who does the book to, again, maybe bring the voices that might have been left out, maybe they were overlooked, there was a mistake along the way somewhere, but that we keep to build the cipher, if you will, as we go forward. Okay. So most of those anthologies, especially with the Nuyorican anthology, was groundbreaking. It was revolutionary, you know. It was its own clique, if you will. And cliques is what we used to call street gangs back in the day. But they were nationalist cliques, is the way Agarin describes them, you know. So I think it's important to really build bodies and collectives, and, you know, like Capicu and La Sopa and organizations like that, whereby you have your infrastructure ready for those voices to kind of bloom.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. All right, just looking at the time, I know we're about to hit 9:30, so I'm going to ask you this last question, and actually two more questions. Boom, boom, boom. So we like to talk about place in poetry as not just an address, but the history of a place and the human presence of a place. So can you give us a favorite corner of El Barrio, right? Or anywhere uptown, actually, and why?
That's easy. 123rd Street and Lexington Avenue, man. That was like that was the nexus of the world. That was the axis of good and evil right there. That was where truth and beauty was sold in bundles, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like 123rd and Lexington was where everything was at. All I had to do was stand on the corner for more than an hour. I come back with a whole book of poems after that, if I was processing it right, you know. That for me was the corner where I came of age. The corner where I found myself as a poet, not necessarily an observer, but also a participant. That was a corner where I think I came into terms with my own sense of darkness and falling into that and what that meant. That was a corner where I heard some of the funniest stories I've ever heard in my life. You think I write? Those I grew up with and the folks I grew up with, man, I mean, you know, storytelling and joke and poems for days. That's where I found community. That's where I found role models for some of us who, you know, were coming from homes that were compromised, where it was just a single mother there, where maybe the home was broken, and we kind of find ourselves together. And again, in that radical moment of loving each other and being able to say that we loved each other. You know, there's so many images that I can point to just standing on 123rd Street, and it's only 2 blocks away from the train station. So you can see all kinds of promises coming out of the train station from 123rd Street, you know? So yeah, I would say that would be the corner of El Barrio that was, you know, the alpha, the Rosetta Stone, the foundation.
I appreciate that. You know, I work about a block from there. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna go hang out there for a while.
I know you do.
All right. So my last question. First of all, Willie, once again, thank you Thank you
All
for
right.
talking with me again. You are a literary luminary of our time, and I want to make sure that we acknowledge that here in the Capicu family. My last question for you today is, Willie, what's next?
I just got two things right now that are on the burner right now. They're coming in heat. I don't want to talk too much about it, but there's one book, there's a short form book that I'm almost done with on the first draft, and there's another prose book that I'm about the first draft into it as well. So it's been productive. That's about as much as I can say about those books. But the stove is always on, and it's just a matter of what's burning at what temperature right now. So, but the stove is on, and all the burners are up right now.
I love it. And how can our people get connected to you if they aren't already?
You can go on Instagram at Willie Perdomo, on Facebook at Willie Perdomo, on Twitter at Willie Perdomo.
Dale, thank you again, brother. We appreciate your time, man. We appreciate your time.
You enjoy you. Thank you so much, man.
Dale.
What's up, everybody? My name is TITA. How you doing? Mira, I've never done poetry before, Fijate, but this is a really good, opportunity to do, and I really appreciate it. I want to say thank you to Elaine Del Valle, and also thank you to Nuyorican Poets Cafe, and to all the performers tonight. This is a really exciting night for me, so thank you so much, Fijate, from the bottom of my little heart, okay? All right, so this piece that I'm going to attempt to perform is a little piece that I wrote a long time ago, and I never imagined that I would perform it, but the poem is called Where I'm From, all right? So you can get a little more sense of who I am, before you judge me. Okay, here I am. Where I'm from Lincoln Hospital to St. Pius Elementary, my journey started on 142nd Street and Brook Avenue, where 3 bodegas on my corner fight to win the prize. And the Pope came to visit one time. I even kissed the ground. I was like, Papi, don't kiss the ground, all right? Because the ground is dirty. Where a slice of pizza went from 25 cents, Fijate, to no cents, to charging $1.20. From 138th Street to La Tercera, that was a good workout. Yeah, from shopping at McCorry's to Alexander's, to the Wiz to buy your latest record, to Las Machinas and back. Oh my God, I miss the Wiz so much, and I miss Alexander's y Las Machinas, forget it, I miss them so much. Memories of an icy or a piragua at St. Mary's Park while the Bomba used to shoot water at the kids, fíjate. It was so much fun. From Los Numeritos to the slot machines in the back of Felix's bodega. I know that shit was illegal, but I didn't care, it was mad fun. It was my little LA city, alright? From penny candies to mommy's yummy coffee, to the sweet smells of pernil on Christmas morning. From bochinches to bedtime stories to mami's cuentos en la televisión. Fíjate. St. Pius was the church and school that I went to, where Jesus cried above the altar. And I kept thinking to myself, how come nobody will help him? Bendito, he's up there crying. Somebody help him. Help me. Help me understand how time has gone by so fast. How the clock has selfishly pushed the hands of time. And just looking at us like, I don't care, you do what you gotta do, you figure it out, you survive. You're important, I'm important, we all important. So let's start honoring each other's dreams and journeys. From Lincoln Hospital, and I'm talking about the old Lincoln Hospital with the ugly beds and the chains and shit, to St. Pius Elementary, my journey started on 142nd Street and Brook Avenue. And I'm so glad que fíjate, I had the village that raised me. Thank you. Gracias. Gracias. Thank you.
This is a public service announcement. Pay close attention to the blood left behind by the God-fearing martyrs as they plan to eliminate you. We cannot be held liable if we fail to protect you. Watch as the phallic powers collapsed into obscurity. Watch as a superpower crumbles and falls. Be prepared to surrender your inalienable rights for the Patriot Act. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, but only if you're a direct descendant of our founding fathers. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness can only be found in books our youth cannot access. It is not our fault that you cannot read. War is expensive. Education is the price. Single mothers, start saving up bail money. And if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Please sit quietly as we coerce you into a false confession. We cannot be responsible for what happens to you behind these interrogation walls. Don't you know that you're guilty until proven innocent beyond a reasonable doubt? If we mistakenly execute you, please accept our sincerest apologies. But we reserve the right to shoot first. And in the event that we make a mistake, our officers will be put on administrative duty pending a full investigation. If you feel you've been treated unfairly, you can request a hearing. But understand that it is not our duty to listen to you. Please proceed to the back of the line, because even though you have an appointment, you will be seen when we say so, if we decide to even see you at all.
Primeramente, buenas noches. My name is Mario Jose Pagan Morales. I am part of a writing collective called the TITA Poets. You might heard of us. We're kind of running the poetry circles and stuff. We have an open mic called La Esquina Open Mic. I'm gonna be reading from Great Weather for Media's anthology, Birds Fall Silent in the Mechanical Sea. It's a little poem I wrote about being called back home. It's called Three Conversations. Fog rises from Dyka Heights manhole covers. The rain washes away the cold hours. I roam looking for signs of life. No coquis here. No gallos here. Only wet cats searching for meals, meowing in an accent I cannot make out. I am haunted by childhood memories of abuela. Mayo, ¿quieres café? Walter Mercado en el radio, Leo. Tu poder interior te hará vencer obstáculos y salir airioso. Tus números son el 8753. Abuela is still here. Que el Señor te bendiga y te guarde. Her kisses, the cool agua florida she would dab on my forehead before I headed to allá afuera. Pulled by the craving of abuela's café, there is no recipe. I only have recuerdos of Ustelo y soda crackers from the green can that later will house the church of Arroz Canilla. Nothing has ever come closer to her tacita. Hoy la recuerdo más and it pulls me closer to Puerto Rico. Este deseo intenso de pisar tierra santa, que jodienda, to settle for what most call home, for what the masses call café, blasphemia. 2. I walk looking for some connection to motherland. Lejos de ti plays en la distancia. Crossing 65th Street, el coquí dice buenas noches. El gallo canta mi niñez. The sun kisses el yunque good morning. Borinquen holds my hand, looks both ways and smiles. Okay, nene, puedes cruzar. En la distancia, Brazaeti's flag stands defiant pero brava. Bodegas these days no longer feel like home. They don't sound like mi tierra. Bodegas smell like triple soy foam macchiato grandes. Bodegas have been colonized. I enter, close my eyes and hear the ocean break on San Juan shores. Hear the tamarindo falling from the trees. El río, las vacas, the gallinas, Don Otoniel's mangos y Doña Connie's quenepas. A man holding a Budweiser nods towards the counter. La doña smiles. 3. Con su permiso, señor, ¿le puedo ayudar? Un cafecito, porfa. Oye, Bori, ¿y de qué parte de la isla tú eres? De Guayanilla. Y yo de Cagua. She makes my café, does not ask how I drink it, because she knows. She is a palm tree on Peña Blanca, her smile, blue ocean morning downpours, kicking up the aroma of tierra, of peace, of patria, where you least expect it. Mijo, aquí tienes tu cafecito. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Hey y'all, thank you to Capicu for having me and being able to share this space that's really important right now. My name is Michelle Soto. I'm a Puerto Rican and Ecuadorian poet, educator, and arts organizer with Project X in the Bronx. And I'm super happy to be here and share this poem. You ask if I know about the thing that happened in Puerto Rico and my heart bursts into flames. What thing? Hurricane Maria ravaging through Borinquen's heart and soul, or Columbus's erect statue burning a hole into my ancestors' graves, or the paper towels flung at my people's skulls by that orange demonio, or the limbs and flags left to rot in Ponce after the massacre, or Becky finding out she has 0.002% indigenous blood running through her veins because her great-great-grandfather didn't listen when he said no, when we said no. What thing are you referring to? Goya selling the soul they never had for a spot in the New York Post, even though my mother's been buying their sofrito since before I was born, or the lead-based paint peeling off apartment walls and into our skin, or white landlords burning buildings to the ground to cash the insurance money, only expecting the cucarachas to survive, or the fact that my identity is ripped into shreds every time I have to fill out a form, resurrecting Spain in my blood for every census. We are not dead things. I am not a check off your bucket list, or a Tinder story for your gentrifier friends stealing land in Williamsburg. Wela isn't some statistic to rattle off as polite conversation over dinner at a fusion restaurant. I am so tired of hearing them say that we are tearing the lining off of smoke and mirrors when they've been trying to make Borinquen into Gringolandia since 1492. When we count all the ways they have tried to kill us and failed, and there are no limbs, bodies left. So when you ask me about Puerto Rico and the restaurant crumbles along with my face, and I rip your question apart with my teeth, don't be surprised when I don't call you back, you Columbus ass desgraciado.
I have blood oil memories of how abuelo unlatched my skin, carried me in pockets of guayaberas and planted me under a flamboyant, whispering, crece, crece. The bottom of his voice in my ear like conch shells, with long talks to an October moon and debates with an August sun. I have blood oil memories of the winds ministering to me, the djembe and men, under stilts and a carnival of bay rum legs, awakening spirits and dry drums, and of the calabaza home where the music found me and possessed my legs against the low blooming belly. I have blood oil memories of twilight in the hot season, when my father would gather the red of his summered skin, cloak it upon mine with the length of his name, and hum the violins of El Cantante with me like the first start of Sunday hymns. I have blood oil memories of how I traveled to Abuelo's house in Rio Predas, a block with an American name, smiling at endless recuentos of salted air and netting that could never keep out the sounds of Hatoré. Imagining him standing in front of a slatted window, his body of 11 years, shirtless and shorts, Africa still playing in his hair, while a massacre could be witnessed if his neck just chose a different direction. I have blood oil memories of how history will tell us today is a lesson in epigenetics, how we will relive the bombing of Vieques in our blood, after every swim, y asopao, after every taza de café abuela offers, After news of the neighbor's miscarriages, after the start of Tio's cough, how a generation or two will find us a receding wave, how we will scream back, water no good enemy, as they watch an ocean on fire from a flame that tucked itself under the skin of a pueblo. I have blood oil memories of how a Rican will call the jellyfish, constantly showing you her beautiful wound, naked and small, regrowing her arms in a bed of ashes and sand, still refusing to shake hands with an absentee father. And that day after day, Benuelas will pray to Atabe, that she remembers how to birth the bird from the cenizas de una agua viva.
Good evening, I'm Rebel Poet, Hakeem Rebel Poet Coreano. I'm honored to be here. Shout out to everyone tuning in. A big wepa to the Boricuas in the diaspora, back in La Isla and worldwide. Thank you to Capicu Culture, George and Papo, for allowing me the space to share my my craft in such a wonderful occasion. And as I'm celebrating my culture, I also celebrate my roots, which is Africa. And I would like to share a piece that speaks on where I'm from, specifically in La Isla. Bating bandumba de la quimbamba, rumba macumba, macumba, candombe bámbula, bomba que bamba, suda que sangra. Veo tus cordilleras en cada amanecer. Llevo tu barro sellado dentro de mi ser. Soy la hoja más verde que desprende de tu piel. Somos la fruta más pura de tu querer. When it comes down to the soul of things, home is where the heart is. Hardest thing for me is grieving. Being there is everything. Why dread the after? Canta tus bendiciones. Feel the breeze on your skin. It all starts here. Una calle conocida en Caguas. Las montañas all around. No wonder I am valley. Pegao que nunca seca. Caldito del caldero de mamá. I brought you here. Where rain tastes of Sahara. Los coquises conduct an orchestra upon your arrival, and just like that, your smile is chiringa, overlooking El Morro. Even what was ravaged blooms in the winter, and the deity of chaos finds peace here. Hardest thing is I can't stay. When the gray of days come, from shoveling sands of depression to staring at four walls, four corners, having $4 to your name for the week, focus on the timbre of our voice while I speak. This cave is not your home. You are not alone or forgotten. The dead live in how you remember. Flores para lo muerto, flores para lo muerto, flores para lo muerto. When it comes down to the sum of things, most revolutionary act is to go on living. Thank you, mi gente. Love you.
Latin excellence and Black Lives Matter. Catch me in Wakanda with that Killmonger swagger, or in Puerto Rico con Oscar Lopez Rivera. Organize on live despite governmental pressure. I'm Papo Swiggity, live from the quarantine. Right now we're all trapped on revolving screens like the supervillains of Christopher Reeves. Our lives are Netflix, attuned to a subliminal message. Every time I flick and see a new post, my anxiety is delivered into a new host. Exponential growth is how the virus traveled through folks. We can't even hug, we can't grieve, we too close, we can't even breathe. The American flag is a mask. The country done went mad. Is justice too much to ask? The people behind the scenes seem to dream about a past where a passionate uprising was shut down with violence. Isn't that strange? I back up my data like an anonymous hacker on a rampage, on a tour browser telling you that their power is man-made and I was divinely destined, no question. Some fall for erroneous beliefs because they need to. The wall wasn't built around the border, it was built around the people. Again, listen if you need to. The wall wasn't built around the border, it was built around the people.
Hola, mi gente. Mi nombre es Jani Bomba Rose. I'm a board member of Capicu Culture, co-founder of La Sopa, our School of Poetic Arts, where we support the development of the arts as a means for social justice. I'm a parent coordinator for the New York City Department of Education. I'm a Puerto Rican woman raised in the Bronx in El Barrio, identifying as Nuyorican poet. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share with our community during this unprecedented time in our history. Our stories matter, our voices matter. Please accept my offering. Ashe. I think they're scared of us. Yeah. I think they're scared of us. I explain to my sons that when they are approached by the police, it is their right not to speak. I have taught their gut to ring the alarm in the event that they are asked too many questions by anyone. Until you are 18 years old, the answer to any and all questions is speak with my mother. After 18, stay silent. They are not here to help you. How many times have they claimed fear triggered their murderous finger? How many times have Black and brown bodies trembled under the pressure of the overseer's hands? Weapons, boots, arms wrapped around throats, cutting airways, punching holes in their bodies, told that their flinching caused their lynching, penal systems, and rehabilitation at the end of a fist. Never has a knee been so controversial. Black and brown bodies across America. Let me tell you about the 19 who died by the time I was 19. Black lives matter until they're killed by Black lives. They say subterfuge, verbal hopscotch, convincing each other that they're Karenistic and Beckified raging fits, crackering bones and bloody teeth. Their slips are showing, their masks are falling. At first they were so shocked that they could be bold-faced, hateful, they showed up with tiki torches, a comical reminder that they burn crosses and witches. In their reverie, they rushed into a pastel button-down, khaki pants, Pottery Barn sponsored, ta-da! We have not been race baiting. We have not been pulling the race card. Remember when they tried to shame us for calling the great white shame out by name as we educate ourselves and our children? Praise Sojourner, praise Douglas, praise Buda, Albizu, de Burgos, Schomburg. Knowledge is power, and we know things that they do not know. They do not know what we know, so they fear what we tell them. That our DNA holds the pain of the poison their ancestors poured down our throats. And every rock they stand on was chiseled masterfully by our mothers and fathers millennia past. They have long feared the truth, and the world is standing on the backs of those who scourge the earth round, discovering new ways to oppress the people who love the earth most as she loves them. Conquistador skin, I wonder at your origin. Colonized Boricua blood, African spirit, Taína soul. Sometimes I wonder if our pain is because we do not understand our ancestors' voices, because we listen and speak the master's tongue, Spanish and English overpowering the sounds of their Yoruba and Taino lullabies and spirituals, so we listen to the drum, to the heartbeat. They see us and wonder how it could be that their master plan has not extinguished our drum, our bodies bred into perfection, fed refuse and starved in food deserts, biological warfare on aisle 5. McDonald's toys, sometimes the only toys these children have to play with, so our bodies feed their imaginations and dream of someday. I think they scared of us. Yeah, I think they scared of us. So they yank and pull and slash and burn all that is not sanctified by their God of fire and brimstone, and the Mother Gaia responds with violent shift. Planet under pressure of white supremacy, birth transformation. We are of the earth, so shall we return battle worn, because at every turn we have fought to survive. Peacefully educating ourselves and one another, preparing and keeping our brothers and sisters for such a time as this. Celebrate with me, because every day we have survived. Celebrate, because every day that we breathe is a victory. I think they scared of us. Yeah, I think they scared of us. Black Lives Matter.
Hi, this is Jessica with Dining Traveler, and as many of you guys know, I did a thing. I produced a book. I started with the production of Dining Traveler Guide to Puerto Rico over 3 years ago, when I felt that there was not enough stories being told about Puerto Rico by Puerto Ricans on mainstream travel media. I also felt that many of the articles were just focused on Viejo San Juan and El Yunque, which are two awesome places, but there's so much more to the island than just San Juan. So I enlisted a good friend of mine, a award-winning photojournalist, Italo Morales, to embark with me on a 5-week trip across Puerto Rico. At the end, we both felt that we just scratched the surface when it came to what we saw, what we ate, and who we met. To me, Dining Traveler Guide to Puerto Rico is a love letter to the island that saw me grow up. It's a love letter to the island where my parents were born. And I hope that you get to enjoy this experience and this journey as much as we enjoyed making it. Adios.
Hey FIFA, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, George? Long time no see.
Ya tú sabes, estamos aquí en cuarentena. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to spend the day on Fifth Avenue as we always plan every year, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted to take a moment. We're doing a special broadcast today to help raise money for the scholarship that the National Puerto Rican Day Parade gives out every year.
Okay.
And one of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that today's event really gave voice to the voiceless. In a sense, you know, we work with poets, we work with actors and artists and community builders and people who go out in the community and grind every single day, and they don't get an opportunity on major media platforms to be able to tell their stories. I know that you work as a community director, community affairs director for Woodhull Hospital.
That's right.
And you know, you've been going through it, right?
Yes.
The pandemic has really taken a lot out of a lot of the first responders. So we as Capicu, and you being family, somebody who's helped us build our philanthropy in the community in Brooklyn, we wanted to thank you and give you the official title, the first time title of Capicu Shiro.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored.
But I know that also you're a leader. And as a director of community affairs at the hospital, you lead a team of mostly Latino and people of color. Tell me a little bit about them, and are there any names that stand out to you of people who have really gone above and beyond for the community in Brooklyn?
Yes. So we have all kinds of staff members that hold different titles. But we have a doctor, Dr. Hernandez, Luis Hernandez. He's over in pediatrics. He's the chief doctor there. With they've done things such as an asthma program and the baby friendly program, which is teaching Latino people, the community, teaching the community on how breastfeeding is important.
That's awesome.
He served a major purpose there too. He's awesome.
And what about nurses and porters and janitorial staff and kitchen workers and some of the restaurants I know that you've been able to rally up to come in and feed the first responders? There's been so many different videos that I've seen of you guys in action.
Well, we have a nurse. Her name is Ada. She also works for PEDS. She's been there. She's a legend there because it runs in her family. Her mom used to work there. She was a nurse in the OR, and her daughter just recently became a nurse as well for pediatric, and she's been a part of the growth process of Woodhall. So she speaks highly of Woodhall, and she's so excited to be a part of it. And as far as community and, restaurants and all kinds of supermarkets, and community doesn't mean the same anymore to me. Community is around the world. I didn't realize what I was doing when I got into this, right? I just thought about the fact that, the staff had darkness in their eyes and they look so sad and lost. And I said, man, it kind of reminds me of mommy when you got sick and abuela made you a sopita, and it didn't matter, you were dying, but you ate that sopa and it made you feel so good, like that, sofrito for your soul. It's funny, but it's
$5.
No, it is. It's sofrito for your soul. So I said, food does that. Food lifts people. And I started with 50 meals in one day. And believe it or not, I called my friend Jason Tennant, the owner of Evil Olive. And I said, yo, brother, I said, you don't understand. It's crazy in here. Like I sensed the people were so scared. No one knows this monster. No one knows how to handle COVID. No one knows the cure. So many people were dying and so many people were afraid. I called Jason. Jason said, yo, I got you, and he brought a few pies. So it started off like that. And then he said to me, it was like the third day, he said to me, oh, this is it, because I'm going to shut down. And I said, what? You can't shut down. That's my home. That's our home. I said, that's where we host our events. That's where we do poetry, where we bring art, where we feel we're at home. And I said, this is what you're going to do. I said, you're going to open up a GoFundMe. And I said, and I'm going to divert everyone to you because people are calling me. I said, and all I did was speak to a good friend of mine, Kirsten, in California. He then he was like, what do you need? I gave him a restaurant. He started ordering from it. I started networking, sending out emails to all community-based and planning boards, all my friends, all the elected. And suddenly I was being bombarded. The moment I posted one thing on social media, my friends, such as you guys, and all the art programs, right? All these programs, so Capicu, Sofrito for your soul, and the artists. I reached out to Tattoo. I reached out to so many people. I said, these ideas I have, whatever you want, and mana, we down with this. Like, we here to help. My friends got together and brought Subways, like a group of 5 girls, and they brought 50 meals. So that 1 week, at the ending of the week, I was providing 1,200 meals a day. By the ending of the second week, it was 2,800 meals. And I was able to obtain 8 assistants around the world, building collaborations, helping people build, staying with all our local restaurants open. We stayed with them open. Jason stood open for the midnight tour and he delivered because they were getting cold food. So Jason was extremely instrumental. But communities around the world, I have 8 assistants around the world. I built a collaboration. I built these group of people to get PPE all together. They all got PPE of different kinds. And now they have their own organization together. And then I was able to obtain 150 iPads that were used, and they washed them, and we were able to use that for the hospital. It was what was so bitter and the pandemic that was killing was what accepted me, what invited me to the hospital and allowed me to show everyone what my capabilities were. I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? I still don't know. I still don't know what I'm good at, right? But I learned throughout this process that I was able to lift so many people, and my room turned into the room of magic, which is what I named it, and people walked in there and felt it, you know, and they were so happy. Stories were shared, and I see things in a different light now.
Well, I'm just glad that you finally seen what we've seen in you for the last 12 years that we've worked with you. We love you. Keep doing what you're doing. You're so necessary there in that space. And I look forward to hugging you again.
I look forward. I got it on layaway for you. Yo hago layaway plan.
That's a layaway.
Sí, yo hago layaway.
That's what's up. We'll see you soon. Give our best to everybody that's working really hard over there at Woodhull.
Thank you.
Tell them that we love them, that we appreciate them.
And remind
those Woodhull employees, when we do that next live, they come in for free to Capicu.
Beautiful. And I want you to just remind the world that Woodhull is the best healthcare secret. And I'm going to make the world know that.
You got it, Mama. Talk to you soon, okay?
Love you. Love you.
Llega la guardia, le damos candela, candela, candela le damos, y candela arriba y candela abajo, candela, candela le damos, y le damos candela y candela le damos.
Candela.